Now coming to the lesson. Dr. Kalam belonged to a middle class family. He belonged to a Tamil family. Okay. So let us see the first stanza of the chapter. I was born into a middle class Tamil family in the island town of Rameshwaram in the erstwhile Madras state. So he was born and brought up in the small town of Rameshwaram, the island town of Rameshwaram. My father, Januluddin, had neither much formal education nor much wealth. Despite these disadvantages, he possessed great innate wisdom and a true generosity of spirit. He belonged to a middle class family, a simple parents, and his father was neither very much educated nor was a wealthy man. Despite these disadvantages, his father was a man of wisdom and also a generous person. He had an ideal helpmate in my mother, Ashiamma. His mother was Ashiamma, and she was very much devoted to the thoughts, to the practice of her husband. She used to help him in every respect. I do not recall the exact number of people she fed every day, but I am quite certain that far more outsiders ate with us than all the members of our own family put together. Dr. Kalam remembered a very significant thing here. What he said, that he did not recall the exact number of people who were fed by his mother. Apart from the members of the family, other people also were fed by his mother. So this shows that her mother was a lady of great heart, a large-hearted lady. I was one of the children, a short boy with rather undistinguished looks, born to tall and handsome parents. Kalam's parents were tall and handsome, but Kalam was not so good looking. He was neither very tall, not very good looking. We lived in our ancestral house, which was built in the middle of the 19th century. It was a fairly large pakka house made of limestone and brick on the Mosque Street in Rameshwaram. He lived in his ancestral house, which was a pakka house. My austere father used to avoid all inessential comforts and luxuries. His father had a principle in his life that he should provide the essential things to his children, not the comforts and luxury. Why? Because maybe the child would not prosper. This was the thinking of his father, and he did that. He did not provide the luxurious life to his children. However, all necessities were provided for in terms of food, medicine, or clothes. In fact, I would say mine was a very secure childhood, both materially and emotionally. Kalam remembers that how was his childhood. He felt that his parents were very generous, very simple, and they did not believe in providing the luxurious life to their children. Rather, to provide the basic things, to learn the basic life. So he felt that his childhood was very secure, and not only emotionally but also materially. Means his parents were very attached to him. He was also very much attached to his parents. He regarded them. He loved them. He never disregarded his parents. So emotionally, he was very balanced, and he had that touch also. The Second World War broke out in 1939 when I was 8 years old. For reasons I have never been able to understand, a sudden demand for tamarind seeds erupted in the market. During the Second World War, he felt that there was sudden demand of tamarind seeds. Tamarind, which is sour in taste, those seeds were very much in demand. So what he did, I used to collect the seeds and sell them to a provision shop on Mosque Street. A day's collection would fetch me the princely sum of one anna. So he started doing small things, small work. Hmm. What did, he collected the seeds, the tamarind seeds, and started selling it to a provision shop, and used to fetch 1 anna. 1 anna means 6 paise those days, and 6 paises were of great value. So he started doing that. My brother-in-law Jalaluddin would tell me stories about the war, which I would later attempt to trace in the headlines in Dinamani. Dinamani is the name of the newspaper. Okay, so his brother-in-law used to tell him the stories of the World War, which he could find in that newspaper. Our area, being isolated, was completely unaffected by the war. That island town of Rameshwaram was not very much affected by the war. So they used to get the information through the newspaper, what was happening in the world. But soon India was forced to join the Allied forces, and something like a state of emergency was declared. But soon there was the declaration of emergency in India, and the first casualty came in the form of the suspension of the train halt at Rameshwaram station. And first very upsetting thing was there, that the train which used to halt at Rameshwaram station was deferred. The newspapers now had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train on the Rameshwaram road between Rameshwaram and Dhanuskoti. Those days, everything was transported through trains. So the newspapers also were transported from one place to another place through trains. Now, he found that the newspapers had to be bundled and thrown out from the moving train at Rameshwaram station. Why? Because the train was not allowed to stop there. That forced my cousin Samsuddin, who distributed newspapers in Rameshwaram, to look for a helping hand to catch the bundles, and as if naturally, I filled the slot. So his cousin was involved in doing this work. So he started distributing newspapers, collecting them from the station, okay, which were thrown, and he wanted someone to help him. So Kalam started helping his cousin in this matter, and Samsuddin helped me earn my first wages. See, his childhood was a very secure childhood. Still, he did certain work. This shows the interest of Kalam. Okay, he never felt that distributing newspaper from door to door is was a very small job. He respected the kind of work. He respected that the work which he did gave him some money in return. Okay, so he regarded that job. No job is small. Never feel that any job is very small. The sentiment is hurt, or it is beyond my respect. This feeling he never had. He was a generous man. He was a very simple and generous man. So his cousin helped him to earn his first wages, and half a century later, I can still feel the surge of pride in earning my own money for the first time. You know, children, when you earn something yourself, when you earn money yourself, that day will be the greatest day in the life of anyone. Okay, so at such a small age, when he started earning money out of just distributing newspaper, he was very proud of that. Yes, I could do some work. Every child is born with some inherited characteristics into a specific socio-economic and emotional environment, and trained in certain ways for figures of authority. So he realized that no child is very poor or very dull. Every child has some special qualities. Every child is born with some special characteristics. If the child is given a proper place, he is groomed, he is trained, then he will automatically become a wonderful person. So we cannot discard this fact that no child is gifted. Every child is gifted with certain special qualities. This he found. I inherited honesty and self-discipline from my father. From my mother, I inherited faith in goodness and deep kindness, and so did my three brothers and sisters. So when he grew up, he recalled that the qualities which he imbibed were given by his parents. So he felt that he was disciplined and honest because of his father. So he inherited these two qualities from his father. And from his mother, he inherited to be kind and to have faith in goodness. Okay. I had three close friends in my childhood. Now he comes to his friends. Who were his friends and how they helped him? How were they? So he had three friends. He was Dr. Kalam was a Muslim, but his friends were all Hindus. Okay, so Ramanand Shastri, Aravindam, and Shiv Prakashan, these three friends, all these boys were from orthodox Hindu Brahmin families. As children, none of us ever felt any difference amongst ourselves because of our religious differences and upbringing. They had no discrimination of religion when they were small. They did not feel that. In fact, Ramananda Shastri was the son of Pakshi Lakshman Shastri, the high priest of the Rameshwaram temple. Ramananda Shastri was the son of the priest of the temple. Later, he took over the priesthood of the Rameshwaram temple from his father. Arvindan went into the business of arranging transport for visiting pilgrims, and Shiv Prakashan became a catering contractor for the Southern Railways. So his friends were well placed when they grew up. His first friend Ramananda became a priest of Rameshwaram temple. Then Aravindam went to the business of arranging transport, and Shiv Prakashan became a caterer contractor for the Southern Railways. During the annual Sri Sitarama Kalyanam ceremony, our family used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying idols of the Lord from the temple to the marriage site, situated in the middle of the pond called Rama Tirtha, which was near our house. Now here in this paragraph, Dr. Kalam tells about his parents' attitude, his parents' belief. His parents did not feel that they were doing something for the Hindus. What they did, what they used to do, there used to be an annual festival, and in that festival, that is known as Rama Kalyanam ceremony, the deity used to be brought to the middle of the pond, and this work is done by his father, his parents, his family. Okay, they used to arrange boats with a special platform for carrying idols of Lord from the temple to the marriage site. Okay, so this work was continuously done by his family. They never felt that this was not the work of a Muslim family. Events from the Ramayana and from the life of the Prophet were bedtime stories my mother and grandmother would tell the children in our family. So they used to listen to the stories of Prophet Muhammad and Ramayana both. They never had this discrimination that they belong to a Muslim religion, so they'll follow Islam only. They'll not do anything, any activity related to Hindus. So this prejudice which prevailed in those days were discarded by Dr. Kalam and his family. One day, when I was in the 5th standard at the Rameshwaram Elementary School, a new teacher came to our class. I used to wear a cap which marked me as a Muslim, and I always sat in the front row next to Ramananda Shastri, who wore the sacred thread. Here he describes the feeling of religious discrimination which happened with him and which is done by one of his teachers. A new teacher came to the class and he found something different. Since Dr. Kalam used to wear a cap which marked him as a Muslim. And he used to sit with his friend Ramananda in the first seat. Okay, so what the teacher did, let us see. The new teacher could not stomach a Hindu priest's son sitting with a Muslim boy. This is very, very shocking. How can one say that one should not sit with a Hindu boy, a Muslim cannot sit with a Hindu boy, a Christian cannot sit with a Hindu boy? This kind of feeling is poisonous and very dangerous. But this is found by the teacher, and what he did, in accordance with our social ranking as the new teacher saw it, I was asked to go and sit on the back bench. So his teacher asked Dr. Kalam not to sit with that priest's son, but to sit in the last bench. Why? Because you belong to a Muslim community. This kind of feeling, this kind of disparity is not at all correct. But his teacher did so. I felt very sad, and so did Ramananda Shastri. He looked utterly downcast as I shifted to my seat in the last row. The image of him weeping when I shifted to the last row left a lasting impression on me. Both were very upset. His friend had tears in his eyes because they were separated on the basis of their religion, and they did not like this. So what they did, after school we went home and told our respective parents about the incident. Both of them went and told what happened that day to their parents. Lakshmana Shastri summoned the teacher and in our presence told the teacher that he should not spread the poison of social inequality and communal intolerance in the minds of innocent children. So his father, Ramananda's father, called the teacher and warned him, also suggested him not to do such things in class. Don't poison the minds of children by sowing the seeds of inequality and communal intolerance. Means they wanted to prove that no one is different here. Everyone is equal, whether they belong to a Muslim community or a Hindu community. There is no difference. So this was suggested to the teacher. He bluntly asked the teacher to either apologize or quit the school and the island. He even told the teacher to apologize, to say sorry and not to repeat, or to leave that place. Not only did the teacher regret his behavior, but the strong sense of conviction Lakshmana Shastri conveyed ultimately reformed this young teacher. The teacher realized his mistake. He changed his behavior. He was compelled to change his behavior. On the whole, the small society of Rameshwaram was very rigid in terms of the segregation of different social groups. In that place, in that town of Rameshwaram, this kind of feeling were not there. There were no social groups. However, my science teacher, Siva Subramanya Iyer, though an orthodox Brahmin with a very conservative vibe, was something of a rebel. Now here he is describing about his science teacher. His science teacher was Siva Subramanya Iyer, who also belonged to a Brahmin family, an orthodox Brahmin family. But he did not like such kind of discrimination or disparity. But his wife was very conservative. So here he is reflecting his views. He did his best to break social barriers so that people from varying backgrounds could mingle easily. This teacher came forward to break all social barriers so that everyone should feel their importance and everyone should not belong to any particular group. He used hours with me and would say, Kalam, I want you to develop so that you are on par with the highly educated people of the big cities. You mark this statement of his teacher. Some statements you have to remember, okay? Must memorize certain statements to write or to mention in your answers. Okay, so what his teacher said, that Kalam, if you want to be educated, you have to surpass those educated people living in big cities. So you should be highly educated, and you should be very positive minded. One day he invited me to his home for a meal. His wife was horrified at the idea of a Muslim boy being invited to dine in her ritually pure kitchen. She refused to serve me in her kitchen. Siva Subramanya Iyer was not perturbed, nor did he get angry with his wife, but instead served me with his own hands and sat down beside me to eat his meal. His wife watched us from behind the kitchen door. One day his science teacher invited him for dinner. Okay, as he went, his teacher's wife did not like this. She did not like this idea. She felt that how a Muslim boy would be fed in a ritually in a high ritual of Hindu's kitchen. Okay, so she did not like this idea, and she did not serve him food. Then who served him the food? His teacher himself. I wondered whether she had observed any difference in the way I ate rice, drank water, or cleaned the floor after the meal. So Kalam had a different feeling that what his wife was doing, his teacher's wife was doing, she was just watching. So was she only watching the way he was eating food, or the way he was drinking water? What she was watching. When I was leaving his house, Subramanya Iyer invited me to join him for dinner again the next weekend. So when he was leaving the house, his teacher again invited him to have dinner once again. Why was his teacher doing so? His teacher wanted to start this feeling, start breaking this feeling or the barrier of inequality, of untouchability from his home. You know, charity begins from home. So he wanted to first of all reform his own wife, his family first of all. Then only he can bring reformation in the society. So this was the aim of his teacher. That's why he called, or he invited Kalam for dinner. Observing my hesitation, he told not to get upset, saying, once you decide to change the system, such problems have to be confronted. Mark this statement also. Whose statement is this? Of his teacher. Okay, so what he said, if you want to bring a change in the system, you have to face the problems first of all. So be very sure about it. When I visited his house the next week, Siva Subramanya Iyer's wife took me inside her kitchen and served me food with her own hands. So second time when he visited, he found a very big difference in the house. His wife, his teacher's wife herself served him food. So this was a big change he found. So if we want to bring a change, we have to face such problems first of all. Then only the change will happen. Then the Second World War was over and India's freedom was imminent. Indians will build their own India, declared Gandhiji. The whole country was filled with an unprecedented optimism. This declaration of Gandhiji that Indians will build their own India, their own country, this brought positiveness in the minds of everyone. I asked my father for permission to leave Rameshwaram and study at the district's headquarters in Ramanathapuram. He told me, as if thinking aloud, Abul, I know you have to go away to grow. Does the seagull not fly across the sun alone and without a nest? Now, Dr. Kalam had to move out from Rameshwaram for his higher studies. So his father told him that, yes, I know you have to go from here if you want to become highly educated or if you want to receive high education. So remember that a small bird had to fly herself or itself so that it should gain confidence. So one had to leave the house, the family, for gaining something. This his father told to him. So this shows that his father was very optimistic. He quoted Khalil Gibran to my hesitant mother. Your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself. See the thinking, great thinking of his father. His father not only showed his clear and very positive view towards his child, but also to his wife. He called his wife and said that your children are not your children only. They are the children of life's longing for itself. Life also demands something from an individual. So this has to be fulfilled by the particular individual only. They come through you but not from you. I'm very clear. It's a fact that a child is born to a mother. Okay. So mother is the medium of bringing the child, but that does not mean she only had the hold on the child. This is not the meaning. You may give them your love but not your thoughts, for they have their own thoughts. You can bring the child into an adult, you can groom them, you can shape them, but you cannot impose your thoughts on your child always. This is not possible, and this is not acceptable. This was the teaching of his father to his mother. Okay, so this shows that how positive how optimistic was his father, and how much he played how vital role he played in the life of, or in shaping the life of Dr. Kalam. Okay, so these things you should know and try to imbibe them. Okay, thank you.